SMT Podcast. We are starting the night off right. We are starting it off strong because Anwar came in with a super sticker to start off the night saying, "What's up, Sneed and Dennis? Let me help kick this stream off with an early super chat before it starts." So thank you, Anwar, for that incredible donation. Tonight we're going to be talking about how Verizon is losing customers. We are assembling the T-Mobile emergency response team. And then lastly, we're going to be talking about AT&T promo activity.
Oh, damn. Dennis with the beanie. Look at that's a supercharged, uncarrier, ultra capacity beanie.
It will improve your performance, man. It's got cellular antennas and a cell booster built inside.
It'll boost your dome alone, dog.
There we go. I had to fix it up so the T was right in the middle.
Nice.
But anywho, I'm not going to lie. This beanie's a little bit tight, a little bit small for my head.
Yeah, that must mean that it's for the younger generation, Dennis.
Possibly. I think this, honestly, keeping it 100%, I'm pretty sure this was a women's beanie. I'm not joking.
Yeah.
I'm 99% sure this is meant for women, but I was like, since when does beanies have to be exclusive?
Facts. It's unisex, bro.
It should have been, but I can see why it was marked that way.
Oh, damn. We got Black Saw, Brian, Josh is in the house. Onward, thanks for the super chat. Appreciate you getting it off right and starting the show on a great note. Oh, is that another one?
Yeah, Anwar came in with another one.
Oh, damn. Go ahead, Dennis.
Came in with the $2 one saying, "Did it come with or without the magenta thong?" It did not come with the magenta thong. Unfortunately, T-Mobile couldn't afford one. But
they will only give them out on T-Mobile Tuesdays when it was what, like 2 years ago when they did the thong?
Something like that. Honestly, not gonna lie, if T-Mobile did come out with some like boxers or something, I would totally buy them for the lulz.
Well, they become collector's items, right?
I don't know about all that. I don't think you could resell some used boxers, but
well, you wouldn't use them, chump. You would keep all your T-Mobile Tuesdays and thongs together in a box, all brand new. You sell it as a set like you would like memorabilia.
I don't know. I'm just saying, look, I bought this one, but if someone from T-Mobile wants to send me more merch, not opposed to wearing it. Also not opposed to wearing some Verizon merch.
Send the merch. You heard him.
AT&T merch is supposed to be on the way, but we'll have to wait and see on that.
Something tells me you more so would like wear that proudly because the service is so good for you. So that one you'd be like, yeah, it's the best here, so I'm rocking it.
I think it's going to be more of a podcast type of thing and less to be worn in public. But I'm taking that off because it's actually uncomfortable and it's hard to hear through the headphones.
It's too tight, bro.
It is too tight.
Gotta let that sucker breathe.
Oh, well, maybe I'll give it to my mom.
I mean, Mike saw you wear that beanie. He's like, well. Maybe a Dish beanie. What do you think, man?
Dude, I'd be down. Dish beanie, Dish shirt. Why not?
Man, this is going to be a good show, Dennis. We have Verizon back in the news. This one self-inflicted. And then we have the T-Mobile story about the emergency exercises. Got like an emergency response team and such. The U.S. cell site count. I don't know if you know how many cell sites there are in our country, Dennis. Might you know?
Like from all the carriers or just...
all the towers, macros, small cells, nodes, the whole shebang.
I'm going to guess we're at roughly 350,000.
It's not a bad guess. You're wrong, but you're not that off. You're wrong, but you're not
too high
that
or
off,
too
man.
low?
It's a little too low. I think because small cells, man, and all the regional ISPs and stuff, like we gotta count all that stuff.
Yeah, it's hard.
Who knows?
For me
Maybe they're counting DAS too. I don't know.
It's hard for me to guess because there's been a lot of changes when it comes to the cell site count with T-Mobile decommissioning a lot of Sprint and us not knowing the progress on that, and then like small cells don't tend to get it reported like macros do. Mm-hmm. And then there's also the whole part where like a lot of the carriers don't actually own a lot of their cell networks. A lot of times it's actually shared, but like Crown Castle sites, for example, co-locations. So does that get counted as one or does that get counted as three? So it becomes hard to guess.
So yeah, I think some of the answers we know, like for example, let's say there's 3 carriers on the same macro. That's technically 3 cell sites, right? Because they want to count it like by pops and how many people are covered, and then I guess technically each customer on their own carrier, you count it as a site for the 3. Oh snap! Kazi had a shawarma today. Nice, man.
Also, side note, alternate reality. I'd be down to be sponsored, but no, I just wear that stuff for fun. But anyhow.
Last one, Dennis. If we have time, we'll try to get to the U.S. Cellular. They finally are doing unlimited internet for their fixed wireless access. They are just now making it unlimited. That's kind of cool, bro, because there are wireline businesses that don't do true unlimited, right? They give you like a tera, and then what are you paying, like $20 for like another 100 gig or something?
No, it goes 1.2 terabytes, and then $10 for an additional 50 gigs, up to a maximum typically of $100, or you could just get unlimited for sometimes included based off speed tier, depending on ISP, or like a $25 add-on that includes the modem rental with it as well.
All right, just depends on the business, I suppose.
Yeah, I was gonna say, fun fact, Sneed, there are more ISPs that have data caps than ISPs that don't in the country.
Even fiber ISPs with data caps?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god. The Frontier CO was actually talking about DOCSIS 4.0 today. He ain't scared. He said, I ain't scared of fiber. And I ain't scared of, he said, I'm not scared of DOCSIS, and I'm not scared of fixed wireless either.
Because I'm going bankrupt.
Wait, they already went bankrupt. What do you mean?
Yeah, I know.
What do you mean I'm going bankrupt? They were bankrupt.
That was the point of my joke.
I
Don't have to care when you're out of the business.
Yeah, I was saying, I was like, what are you giving them some help here, some support? Don't do that.
No. I'm saying that Frontier went bankrupt, and I'm saying like they don't care because they like the places that they still survive in are places where they basically have monopoly. So cable doesn't exist.
Big true. All right, Dennis, there's the screen share for you, buddy. Talk about our first topic. Verizon's Hans Vestberg, their CEO, says that their Q3 wireless net adds are going to be negative again. This is dated from today, fiercewireless.com. So, Dennis, let's just do a little bit of history here. Verizon historically has rough Q1s. Typically, they make very little gains. Like, they had 50,000, they had 100,000, right? That was historically what they did. And then every other year or so, every 2 years, they would lose customers in Q1. It like became customary. If they had a bad quarter, it was always going to be Q1. It was either some losses or very little gains. And then this year happened. They had the customary bad quarter, Q1. And then something happened in Q2 that has never happened ever before. And that is a bad Q2 and 2 bad quarters consecutively. That never happened in the history of Verizon as a company, dating back all the way to like 1999. So the issue becomes, you never had 2 bad quarters in a row, you never had a bad Q2, and that happened. So check this out, Dennis. Q3, based on what Hans is telling us, we have no reason to believe otherwise. He's admitting it, he's saying it. Q3 is done at the end of September, right? So there's literally 2 weeks of data left. That's it. He knows that they have big losses in Q3. He's telling us now. He's bracing investors. He's bracing the market. He's bracing the shareholders, everybody that's involved. He's saying we're gonna report bad quarter numbers. This is going to be 3 consecutive quarters of trash from Verizon. Not 2 consecutive quarters. This is going to be 3. And all indications are, based on what he said, which was they expect things to turn around in Q1 of next year, there's going to be a bad Q4. So here's what we have. By far, the worst year a major U.S. carrier has ever had, not named Sprint. Sprint had these kind of years where they lost 1 million customers, right? Sprint had these kind of years. Dish with Boost Mobile has had these kind of years where they literally put up the white flag and said, we're not going to compete with, the urban unlimited data plans because we don't have our own network, right? Verizon is now officially in uncharted waters where they have become the loser in market share. And it's not by like a little bit. It's by a landslide. T-Mobile is still growing. AT&T is essentially a profitable growth version of T-Mobile. T-Mobile gives away free lines and makes very little ARPU. They really stretch their dollars. AT&T gets money hand over fist because they have owner's economics on their side, right? They own and operate their own fiber. They run a fiber business, right? This is such a crazy turn of events. I don't think this has anything to do with Sprint. If anything, you would say that T-Mobile's doing the right thing and growing their business. They don't care. They don't give a damn what Verizon does. They don't like Verizon did the T-Moan thing and like T-Mobile didn't even respond. Verizon's completely grasping to these stupid, dumb things like, what was the most recent thing they did? The Welcome Unlimited plan? That is trash.
Welcome Unlimited, the Apple exclusive unlimited plan, that's also trash. But I want to pivot here and play a little bit of devil's advocate just for a minute, Sneed. There's two things that I want to address. One, and this has to do with Q4, I don't think it's all doom and gloom. iPhone season's always been a season that provides growth for carriers across the board. I think Q4 has the potential to help Verizon a little bit. Not necessarily saying it makes it so that they get the year with like a net growth, but I don't think Q4 ends up being that bad for them. Because you're saying we might have to wait till Q1, and I'm saying that might not be the case. Second thing, though, and this is something a little bit off, a little bit different, but I don't necessarily think the fact that Verizon is losing customers equals all bad for Verizon, because we have to look at where the customers are actually going, right? Like, we talked about that, I think, this earlier this year, but like Verizon will lose like one postpaid ad, but they'll gain like 2 additional net ads from like one of their MVNO partners, like SMT Mobile. So at the end of the day, Verizon, from a revenue standpoint, really isn't losing all that much, right? So it's not really hurting them yet.
Well, the reason I wanted to comment on these particular statements is they came from the CEO. Right? He's telling us we lost this year. He's telling us we're turning things around in Q1, so he's acknowledging losing. So I think that's kind of interesting, don't you think, Dennis?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's doing that to try to like you said, brace stock shareholders so the stock doesn't plummet.
You know what they did 3 days ago, right?
What did they do 3 days ago?
They raised the dividend for the 16th consecutive quarter.
Making me want to buy some Verizon stock, Seed. I see you here.
Well, if your stock had fallen from $61 to $40, you'd be looking to raise the dividends to prevent your shareholders from leaving too. I mean, the investors, all that's left are the retail investors. I don't know what you would refer to them as, like the Warren Buffetts of the world. Those guys, Berkshires, they bailed. They pulled their money. Yeah, this is definitely not financial advice, Kazi. Yeah. Definitely not financial advice. I'm not the telco, stock investor connoisseur. Super chat from Anwar. Thank you, man. When you're at the top, there's only one place you can go. Either Verizon stayed number one or they're eventually going to fall from grace. But this is a precipitous fall, though, right? We're going from king by a long shot to negative growth and losses. It's one thing to stay where you're at, and it's another to lose customers.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Right now, it's still too early, right? Like, what's Verizon's lead over T-Mobile? It's like, what, 20 mil?
Yeah, but the bigger problem right now, Dennis, is the fact that Verizon is losing business customers. Like there are multiple red flags right now. Consumer side is a problem. Retail traffic is a problem. Now they're losing business customers. AT&T is gaining some. T-Mobile's gaining a lot. Like, T-Mobile's gaining because they start from nothing, essentially, right? Like, T-Mobile's starting from zero. Let's say if they had 100 customers, like they went from 0 to 100, that's huge. If you go from 100 to 1,000, that's huge. If you go from 1,000 to 10,000, those are big gains when you look at scale. So T-Mobile starting from the bottom with next to nothing, they're making huge gains. Verizon is losing business customers. I think people are starting to look at like just the money. It's like they know that Verizon is going to be a better option for a business, but they're just like, let's try it and let's hope it works. And they're going to explore. They're going to look at AT&T too. And let's not pretend like cable doesn't have business segments where they can, and now they can serve wireless, right? So like you can get the Spectrum business class, you can get the Xfinity business class, through Comcast or Charter, and then you can get wireless from them too. And they're giving you a hell of a price, probably $25 a line. Boom.
Less, but yes. Depends on how many lines, but if it's enough lines, it's like $20 a line.
That's how I'm looking at it, Dennis.
But yeah, I mean, this obviously isn't positive for Verizon. I'm just saying, like, here's my stance on it, okay? First off, I hate the company. But my stance on it is this. It's a lot easier for Verizon to turn around and change what they're doing. Like, if Verizon came out tomorrow, right, and let's just say they matched T-Mobile's plans, dollar for dollar, tax and fees included, right? Like, they made, like, a massive shift like that. They would probably stop the bleeding. Like, if they improved their promos and, like, match pricing with T-Mobile, they'd probably stop the bleeding. That's a lot easier to do than to convince someone to leave you and switch to someone else, right? It's harder to gain a customer than to stop a customer from leaving. Do you get what I'm saying?
I do. And, we look at it's strictly cost related because people would have been leaving the company for the network problems. They would have left the company last year if it was network because now they have more spectrum than they've ever had. They're upgrading C-band and they're turning up backhaul on sites. The network is improving in areas where it needed support. So the network's getting better. People are like, oh, the network. People are leaving because of the network. That's ridiculous. Then why the hell are they going to MNO or MVNO? You don't go to frickin' Xfinity or Spectrum if you're leaving Verizon because of the network. Do people think before they speak? Like, that is insane. Like, they're adding 600,000 customers a quarter. And you're telling me that people are leaving Verizon because of the network? That is the dumbest. Like, you can't do math if you can't figure that out.
I will say in those people's defense, although this is a very lighthearted defense, a lot of your everyday consumers don't realize that Xfinity Mobile actually uses Verizon's network. You'll be surprised how many people I talk to.
And then what do they say? Oh, I've switched to Xfinity and it's great.
Yeah.
Verizon was trash.
Yes,
So
that's the exact...
So how stupid do they look?
That's their exact phrasing, which is what I find to be hilarious.
Oh, man, that Verizon's trash. I went to Xfinity Mobile and I never looked back.
Although a lot of times, can I just say, those people that typically say that also tend to get new phones when they make the switch.
So they went from the iPhone 6 to the iPhone 13?
Yeah, something like that.
Hold on. We have the man who's never lost. Moose?
Let me tell you. I am undefeated. 3 quarters in a row. It's going to be 4 quarters in a row, ladies and gentlemen. I'm telling you right now, Verizon's going downhill this year. It's done.
Moose called this. He was just off by a year.
Exactly.
That's all
Sneed
it was. It was a delayed prophecy. That's all it was.
Yeah. Sneed remembers the prophecy.
I do.
I mean, with that logic, we're always 100% right. I can predict the end of the world and be off by 20 years.
No. If we had this conversation 2 years ago, everybody would have said, what are you talking about? You're crazy.
Yeah.
Side note, let's address the super chat that's been on the screen for a minute from Steven Smith coming with the heavy bomb of $20. And then we got yet another one coming in from Anwar. My goodness, my friend. Coming in with another super chat of $2 said, never lost.
Thanks, Anwar, and thanks, Steven. Moose, you never lost, bro. Undefeated.
Look, I just need to address the haters, okay? Because I'm going to talk to you tonight. Mr. Hater, possibly thong status. Okay. Look, this is the thing. And by the way, Dennis, your package is going to be coming there very soon. I just got notified today.
All right, Moose, I'm ready. I'm ready with my thong. What were you saying?
No. What the hell is this? Can we get a zoom in on the? Can we get a zoom in on Dennis's? What the hell is going on here, ladies and gentlemen?
I got my thong on. I'm a hater for you tonight,
bro.
Moose.
He literally stole that from Britney. I swear.
Oh my god!
You talking about Britney Spears?
I don't know, man. Most of the chicks that work at T-Mobile, their names are Britney, aren't they?
I don't know,
That's
bro.
actually very accurate. And they're not even white; they're Hispanic in my area.
There you go. Yeah,
anyway,
it's like Brittany Hernandez.
What did you say when I took my headset off, Moose? You said something.
Yeah, no, I was saying that your package will be arriving soon. I just got notified today.
Sick! I didn't get a notification, so awesome.
Yeah. Then, so isn't it interesting that this guy, fancy shoes European guy, has the balls on record before even the industry, normal call, the investor relations call. By the way, the SEC has every right to prosecute him because that is illegal what he did. Straight up. He illegally gave information outside of an earnings call. You know that is not approved way from the SEC, right?
I would be a little hesitant to accuse him of that, Moose, because we've heard T-Mobile give early numbers too, and the same thing from AT&T.
You know that they don't prosecute T-Mobile?
I mean, Moose.
I've never heard him prosecute any of them.
Moose, if it's publicly available information, then I don't think it's bad. It's only when it's like insider stuff. Like if I was like, I'm just using an example. Let's just say I worked for Verizon. I was like, hey, Moose, pull your stocks from the stock market real quick because we're going to be doing bad news. But if I say it to everyone and everybody's made aware, then it's not a problem.
I can show you an article that came out, I think last week or 2 weeks ago, where something happened in 2016 and AT&T got fined for it just recently. So that's what I'm saying, that this guy, fancy shoes European guy, needs to be careful because he's leaking information in a totally inaccurate, not an approved form. That's literally the verbiage that the SEC has in order to fine these big companies. And by the way, remember, T-Mobile never gets fined the same way that AT&T and Verizon get fined because they're bigger companies, more established,
Well, I mean, they're as big as them now. I mean, they were just talking about how T-Mobile's market cap just surpassed Verizon's.
So I want to change focus here and kind of guide things because the chat has been incredibly active, and I feel like we should address some of these comments / questions. For starters, Richard
Teixeira
asks, what is Verizon doing wrong?
That is such a loaded question. Unbelievable.
Real talk, Moose. According to their plan, they're executing as planned. They planned for all of this. They planned to raise prices. They planned to stay premium on pricing and on their plans. They planned to compete in prepaid with TracFone. They planned, to not respond to all these other promotions. All that is in their plan. And
did they plan to lose customers?
Exactly. So if they plan to do those things and that's what it feels like. I mean, we talked to Tyrone about this, Moose. They act like because they say it, it's okay. Like, hey, we're going to lose customers. That's okay? Just because you said it makes it all right? No. We wish they competed. We wish that it wasn't their plan to operate this way, but this is what stubborn Verizon, this is what they want to do.
Can I just say that real fast? People wouldn't have this sentiment if it was working.
That's facts. And
I was going to say, because case in point, A company that does this same mentality would be Apple.
Well, Dennis, what changed in the last year? Because people weren't leaving Verizon a year ago. What has changed?
The economy.
The economy.
Well,
and Verizon has refused to pivot. Right? They're not adjusting. This is the boxing. This is the boxing match where someone is losing round over round, and they just keep going out doing the same thing, stopping punches with their face instead of dodging punches and throwing punches. Right?
Yep.
So Verizon's taken on the chin because they're so stubborn and they refuse to adjust. But this is their plan and this is their choice. They could change. Anybody can change. They could readjust the business model moving forward. Hey, look, we're losing a lot of customers. I don't think this is a good idea. Maybe we should become more price competitive. They turn around within a quarter, right? Maybe add more value to some of the more premium plans and make people want to have them instead of going to Magenta MAX or AT&T Premium. Or maybe keep customers from going to MVNO, like in the case of Big Cable.
I still have a feeling that even if the economy was not in the
and big shout to Zero Cool. Thanks for the super chat. Appreciate you, bro.
Hey, Zero Cool. If the economy was not in the situation it was in right now, I still believe that a lot of people would leave Verizon, just not as many as they are right now.
I don't know. I was going to say two things. One, I should have said the perception of the economy, because technically speaking, the economy really hasn't changed all that much versus last year, which was also kind of rough. But secondarily, as far as the people leaving Moose, I don't know. I mean, people only start becoming price conscientious when their wallets get a little bit more strapped, right? Like, realistically speaking, I guarantee the vast majority of people probably have their cell phone bills on autopay, which means they're not looking at it, right? So something has to actually happen, either a bad experience, maybe it's a promo deal mishap, like what was going on with T-Mobile's pre-orders for Apple, or something. Like, there has to be a triggering factor for someone to actually want to leave, right? If the wallet gets tight, then they look. If nothing changes and everything is cool, no one's leaving. Because leaving takes effort.
When those auto pay decline because they don't have money in their debit card, or they maxed out their credit card because, they had to pay other bills, because the inflation is real. It's not perception. Gas was up insane. Grocery bills are still up, by the way. I can't spend $45 the same way that I did last year at the grocery store. It's not a perception thing. It's a reality thing. But you are right. Majority of people do have auto pay. It's like probably 60-70% of all consumers have auto pay on. I don't know why the remainders don't have it, but it is what it is. Anyways, then you said there was other ones, right?
They don't, Moose. They don't trust auto pay. They think it's gonna, something were to happen with charges. They want to be able to process that.
Quickly going to answer this question. Verizon will still have the most customers at the end of the year.
Yeah, it's not even close. I mean, it's still really far apart. I mean, the number doesn't matter. People are in business. People open the doors to their business to add customers, to have more revenue. You can't generate more revenue without adding customers. Like, Verizon is trying to convince us that, we'll just upsell everybody. But, like, how's it working out? We're going to see what the revenue is for Q3. We'll see.
Barry asked an interesting, thought-provoking... Oh, sorry.
Thanks, Steven, for the next super chat. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Jay Angel, as well, for the super chat saying Super Mobile needs to fix migration to Verizon. But I wanted to address this question from Barry here. He says, if you own a company, which do you think is better? Fewer premium customers who tax your CS resources less, or the budget conscientious mass who overuse customer service resources? Customers should focus their base. So basically, I think Barry's touching on
higher quality customer.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, whatever Verizon calls a higher quality customer. A less problematic, less needy. Yeah, I totally get it. And that's why I think, Barry, they're so comfortable allowing customers to go to Charter and Comcast. They're like, well, we'll just wholesale you the network. We don't want to deal with your people, right? We're happy making $30 a line instead of $40 a line. You deal with the customer issues. You deal with all that other stuff. We'll just sell you the network. We don't care. You can have 20 million of our customers. Fine. You know, and I've proposed that on other, podcasts, and we've talked about those elements. But still, man, to just sit there and watch all this growth, like there's going to come a point where this market is completely saturated.
Yep.
And like the getting's good right now for AT&T and T-Mobile. They're happy to grow.
And by the way, those premium customers very, very rarely call in to 611 and ask for a loyalty discount. But I bet you anything, the most price-conscious consumer on any carrier is going to at least call once a quarter saying, you overcharged me, I want a refund on this, this, blah, blah, blah. And this is the crazy part. At any time, if they did not receive service for a week or a day or even a couple hours, they're going to call and complain and try to get some credit. I'm telling you.
Moose, let me just tell you something real quick. If I go without service for a couple hours or something like that, I legitimately cannot be bothered to deal with going through customer service and being put on hold, because for the extra 2 hours of my time that gets wasted, I could have quadrupled the amount of money that they'd be willing to credit me on my account. But that being said, if it's a major issue, like when T-Mobile screwed up on my S22 promo, I will chase, I will hound, I will get that fixed. But anyway, I guess the moral of the story here is like, I feel like there's a good amount of people that fall into my camp where they don't want to actually go through the bother of actually calling, because it takes more time than it's worth for like what, $10?
Man, we got 170 in the live chat. Appreciate everyone that's here. With 171 people here, I should see at least 171 likes. Please do hit the like button if you want to support the channel, and share this to all your socials, your friends and family. Let them catch wind of the SMT podcast. Appreciate you guys doing that for me. Thank you. Carlos says, feeling the pinch so hard I told Verizon I was ready to leave. If they can't help a 22-year customer, they gave me a $50 loyalty discount on top of all my discounts for the life of my account. Nice, dude. They better, dude. You've been there for a long time.
But Carlos knows some sweet words or something, because I don't ever get the type of treatment he gets. Like, yeah, I'm just keeping it 100. Like,
well, you have to be ready to leave. If they know that you're ready to leave and they can feel it, you have to commit. Like, you have to say it. Be like, I want my damn port number right now. Give me my port pin. And as long as you're ready to do it, they will respond.
Yeah, but I'll just say this. Like, I've been with T-Mobile for like basically 9 years, right? If I went to them, I was like, yo, this is too expensive, give me a discount, they're going to laugh at me, because I can barely even get credits when they're justified. And AT&T, my dad's been with them literally since AT&T Wireless was AT&T Wireless. If my dad tried to go over there and be like, I want another discount, they would probably also laugh in our faces. And that's AT&T, and they give us the pretty white glove treatment with them. Like, they'll give us big credits and stuff, but I don't think they're going to give me some additional discount on top of other discounts.
I'll tell you what, Dennis, if Spectrum was worth a damn at my parents' house, we would have already switched. They'd have Spectrum Home Internet, they'd have Spectrum Mobile. I would have already had it. It would have been a done deal. I would have already made that switch for them. All right, seriously. Because I'd be saving money. Right? My bill would literally be cut by $7 a line. Right? So that would literally be $40+. And I'd still have the same access to the same network. Simple as that.
Maybe I'll try
I'd get a cheaper home internet plan too. I'd be at like $40.
Maybe I'll try the AT&T move. Maybe I'll call and be like, look, T-Mobile's offering us Magenta MAX for $117 a month. All tax and fees included.
Dennis, there's an easier way to go about it.
Sure.
It's called Office of the President. any big company, Verizon, T-Mobile, AT&T, they all have this thing called the best-in-class customer service, where you have a U.S.-based employee handling your care situation. So when there's something egregious, right, like next level mess up, right? For example, you requested, right, your internet to be installed on a certain day. Nobody showed up, or it got messed up, and you did not receive internet that day, right? And you were expecting it after months, right? This happened to the SMT, by the way. And guess what? Office of the President took care of business. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Because we put the pressure on them. You know, it's in their best interest to make sure that the customer is taken care of in that one phone call. For any carrier, in that one phone call. They don't want repeating phone calls. They want one phone call, take it, done.
That's not Verizon, man. Verizon loved the sound of my voice for 6 months. They looked forward to it, man. It was like a morning routine. I'm talking about how they messed up my Fios install, by the way, Moose, if you're not getting the joke here. But for AT&T, I don't have a reason for Office of the President. Like, to be honest, AT&T didn't actually do anything wrong. Like, I'm actually very satisfied with the service. I just would like to get the discount if there is one.
Mm-hmm. Everybody wants discounts, Dennis. You're not the only one, sir.
Honestly, does AT&T have an insider discount like T-Mobile, Moose?
No, they have like signature discounts and stuff like that.
We already get that.
The best discount you can do is if you're in a fiber market, right? You're able to stack a 25% off promo, the 25% off discount with a fan discount, but the percentages don't stack. What stacks is that, let's say your fan discount gives you free activation and free upgrade fees, right? Like that's waived. That stacks. But the 25% off does not stack with another 25% off,
Yeah, I think we get the signature discount on the Elite, so it's like $10 off on top of the auto pay discount. So, because it was a fan discount, but when we moved to Elite, it changed to that $10 signature discount.
The best thing that I can do, or the best thing that I can tell you, is look at those 25% off. What do you have to do to be those 25% off? And by the way, this is a tidbit. If you're a Sunday school teacher, or if you're a remote learning teacher, you qualify for the 25% off.
Hey, Sneed, want to make an account?
I do.
You should switch to AT&T, honestly. You have no reason to stick with Verizon, considering all your qualms.
AT&T has no uplink here, man. That's it. That's the only thing, man. I mean, they're both pretty quality. I mean, I can't complain, man. And with that is it.
Anyway, we're 40 minutes deep. We should switch topics. We've been talking about AT&T a lot, so why don't we talk about them for the next topic?
We could do AT&T, or we can do the T-Mobile story. Which one you want, Dennis?
I'm saying AT&T because we've been talking about AT&T.
All right, let's do the AT&T.
And while you're switching, we got another super chat coming in from Jazz Kevin Tech Review. Says, keep up the great work. Looking forward to getting an iPhone 14 Pro Max Friday. Verizon is terrible here in his part of New Mexico and southern Colorado. AT&T dominates.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. Yeah, remote.
I'm turning on my AT&T eSIM while we're waiting.
All right, here we go. AT&T Stanky says customer growth isn't all about promotions. Man, I'll tell you, when I first read this title, I immediately thought wow, I totally disagree with this. For AT&T wasn't actually growing until they started aggressively attacking promotions. So I'm guessing that they've got some stuff up their sleeves that they're probably going to be doing to try to get growth in other segments of the business that doesn't involve promotions on like iPhones and stuff like that. Before I get started with this story, we have a super chat from...
I just addressed that one already, Sneed.
Oh, Jazz Kevin. So thank you for that super chat. And yeah, I mean, you know, when Dennis read that off, like I looked at your location, Colorado, right?
New Mexico.
What's CO?
New Mexico and Southern Colorado. Sorry.
Okay. No problem. So like when Pete talks about Colorado, he speaks glowingly of T-Mobile and he speaks glowingly of Verizon's coverage, although some of it is like band 13 only, I guess. He doesn't speak very highly of AT&T, so it's interesting. Maybe just by location, you know. Could literally be one county over and you could have a totally different experience. All right, so thanks for the super chat. All right, let's do it, man. This next story. Okay. During the Goldman Sachs Communacopia, what the hell, conference on Monday, Brett Feldman noted that AT&T added over 3 million postpaid phone customers in the last year. He said the business has seen much greater momentum over the past 2 years or so since AT&T debuted the same deal for all model. For those of you that don't know what that means, same deal for all means new customers and existing customers qualify for the same promotions. Typically from the carriers, you get a better deal if you're porting in or if you're moving and switching from another carrier. AT&T said, to hell with that. Same deal, whether you're new or an existing customer. And it has dramatically improved their churn rate. In fact, AT&T now consecutive quarters has industry best churn. Right? So it has paid huge dividends in them keeping their customers and also getting a lot of activity in the switcher pool. He said, we are... Oh, go ahead, Moose. Go ahead.
Sneed, one thing that we also have to remind people is you don't have to be on Magenta MAX to get these promos.
Facts.
You don't have to be on the Get More plan to get these promos. You can be on the starter plan, literally paying, $30 a line at 6 lines and still get this promo. Anyways, go ahead.
He actually spoke directly to the gaining customers in a lot of different ways. He says a lot of folks want to continue to go back and say, well, it's a high level of promotion that's doing it. And he says that's not correct. He said, based on sustained investment in building the best public safety network this country has seen, it's allowed us to penetrate into a segment that we were previously grossly underpenetrated in. All right, so he's talking about FirstNet, Moose. The reinvestment into the network has really paid dividends.
Oh, yeah.
They've grown to 3.7 million connections, over 21,000, almost 22,000 agencies. Right, so they're starting to really take share as Verizon now is just over 5 million first responder accounts. Mm-hmm. AT&T is at 3.7.
Yeah.
So that seems to be something that's working for them. I know that just recently Craig Moffett of Moffett-Nathanson said T-Mobile's the best on a bad block. AT&T was downgraded from $19 to $17 as a price point or a ticker price. I don't know what they said about Verizon, but I'm sure they're down on it. But yeah, Stanky says he's confident. They've got products and services that make them very viable and competitive. And he said at every portion of the business, they're working really aggressively to carry that through. So they're looking to grow. I mean, they're looking at probably small and medium business. They're probably looking at enterprise. They're exploring what they can do with, with wireless and mobility promos, right? They're not going to leave anything untouched. They're going to try everything. I think they like where they stand right now. They are growing. I don't know, man. They're adding a lot of customers. I mean, it's pretty much customary for them to hit like 700, 800, 900,000 postpaid phone net adds.
And I just want to say real quick, the stock investors that reduce the share price projections for AT&T are nuts. I agree with Stanky. There's not a singular product that AT&T offers that I don't think people want. I mean, the fiber, people would literally give their left nut for. The wireless is tremendous. I mean, it's literally, if you're not being on Verizon, then you're probably going on AT&T, and that's just the fact of the matter. They got a great network. And even, I know cable TV is dying, but like even the TV business, as far as AT&T goes, like AT&T is seeing some level of success with their media assets and pivoting to streaming. Like HBO Max is doing well, right? They got the different streaming offerings that they've been experimenting with that I know have been playing well, relatively speaking, compared to like traditional DirecTV. And then they also got a host of other ancillary services that don't even get talked about. So they're doing well from like a revenue standpoint. And we did get a super chat from Anwar here, Sneed. I know you highlighted. And he says, what carrier should I switch to here in Minnesota? They're all similar-ish. He's got 4 lines through work. He gets 50% off Verizon and AT&T, 75% off T-Mobile. All consumer plans probably do BYOD with iPhones. Sneed, your thoughts?
Appreciate the super chat, Onward. I mean, if they're all performing similar, you go with the cheapest. I mean, 75% off with T-Mobile is pretty awesome. As long as the reliability there and the coverage is there, I mean, go with the best price.
I'm going to disagree partially, Sneed. I think when the pricing is this cheap, I mean, if it's...
Oh, so you're saying the pricing matters less, actually.
Yeah, like, I think when the pricing is this cheap... Because, like, well, here's my thing, right? Like, Sneed, are you going to bat an eye if there's a difference between $15 or $20, right?
No,
exactly.
Makes no difference.
So, with that being said, I would look at who's offering the best plan that meets my needs, and basing it off of that, basically, what companies offer me a plan that better meets my future wants. I would argue T-Mobile still currently has one of the best plans in the industry since Elite went away. But if you're someone that likes to travel to Canada, for example, when I did my trip up to Canada, AT&T without question had the best roaming up there and the best plan, truly unlimited data. Same thing obviously applies for Mexico and all of South America. If you like to travel to Europe a lot, though, T-Mobile begins to look a lot better from like an international roaming standpoint. If we're talking about phone financing deals, AT&T hands down, since you said you're an iPhone kind of guy, has been crushing it with the iPhone promos. I know you said you're going to do BYOD, but if in the future financing is something important to you or anybody that's on your plan, AT&T is offering the better financing and honestly is kind of the iPhone network. Like their network just plays nicer with iPhones than T-Mobile does. T-Mobile tends to do better with Android phones. Sneed, do you disagree with me on that sentiment?
No, I agree with you. I think you're right. Spot on. And, the fact that you can be transient, maybe just try them and see which one you end up settling with will be the one that you enjoy the most. Get the plan that you think is since price doesn't matter, right? Get the best plan that each one has to offer and then evaluate it. Which plan do you enjoy the most? Which network did you enjoy the most? And just stick with that.
Honestly,
just try each one, man.
I would oppose going with Verizon, though. Verizon has garbage plans, in my opinion. So, I think it's pretty...
Yeah, but in an area with ultra-wideband, the plan doesn't even matter, dog. Seriously. Like, all bets are off if you've got ultra-wideband everywhere. The plan doesn't matter anymore.
I guess.
Do more, you could have get more, you could have play more, and they're all going to feel the same if you're always on the 5G ultra-wideband.
I don't know. I'm gonna say AT&T, and there's one more reason for it, and it's that what happens when you're outside of Minnesota.
Minnesota, don't you know?
No, seriously, like T-Mobile kind of sucks in Central America, to put it bluntly.
Wait, they got coverage in Central America?
Central United States. I guess you're making a joke though. Do they have coverage, Sneak? Because I sure don't know.
I have no idea. I wonder who their roaming partner is.
I'm making a joke. I mean, there's parts where it's good. It's AT&T. But anywho, sorry. Continue on with the article.
That's it, man. That's it.
The stank, man. He was out and about,
bro. He came out to flex, dog.
Dude, that guy is so subtle. I wish that he was more.
You wish he was more willing to flex?
Aguardo's coming with some insightful info. If I remember correctly, Aguardo, you do T-Mobile activations at Costco's. So he's saying he recommends AT&T because you can do financing of phones anywhere. Verizon only allows you to purchase through the app, and T-Mobile strictly BYOD. So there we go.
Oh man, we got a PayPal dono. This one is from Chaim, man. Appreciate you, Chaim. Thanks for that super chat. He said he tried to send me a super chat, and he said, "What would happen if Comcast buys T-Mobile? How will that affect Verizon? What's your opinion?" All right, so that's like a complete hypothetical, right? Comcast buys T-Mobile. The thing, so that.
Well, I'll tell you the first thing that would happen. Everyone would be pissed because pricing for the mobile industry would go up, since you're now removing the only competitor that was kind of keeping pricing stagnated at these prices that we see today. Also, from a network standpoint, T-Mobile's network would actually get the funding that it needs and the backhaul that it needs. So it would honestly probably become, I would argue that it has the potential to be very much Verizon-esque or better, just because Comcast has so much of their own fiber. I mean, literally overnight, they could basically probably trump AT&T in fiber coverage to cell sites. Like, they just have that much of it, especially along the East Coast. And
yeah, I think this acquisition or merger or however you want to frame it, how does that get regulated, dog? It's so hard to get past that.
And then to the main question, which was, what does that do for Verizon? Verizon would be freaking pissed, and I guarantee there'd be lawsuits ensued because there's probably some terms in there that talk about how Comcast isn't allowed to do X, Y,
and and then so there goes a huge revenue stream as a wholesale customer, business customer. Here comes a new competitor who will instantly have like incredible infrastructure across the country. I don't know, man.
I mean, it would take the word supercharged T-Mobile to a whole new level. I mean, it would actually be literally insane. Like, it would be so insane that it's hard to even fathom.
You guys think that T-Mobile's not consumer friendly now? What would the new version of Comcast be?
Well, here's the thing. It's kind of like Jekyll and Hyde, right? Which Comcast are you getting? Because Xfinity Mobile literally wins J.D. Power Awards for best customer service. Meanwhile, their traditional cable side has some of the worst customer service. So it's like,
how does that happen, Dennis?
Like, is that like a figurative question? Like, are you being literal or figurative here?
I'm being literal. What do you mean? What happens to customer care just between the two departments?
100% simple. 2 parts. 1, the mobile space is competitive. The home internet space is not. 2, you have different departments, right? Like, Comcast is such a massive business that it's not that hard to imagine that they have different customer cares for different channels, right? Like,
is it the concept that the home internet base is so big it's hard to service them and there's so many issues, and then for the mobile side it's much smaller, so they're better serving?
I wouldn't say it's necessarily about smallness. It's more about like, I'll be serious real quick. So one of the things that happens in customer care, or just companies in general, right, is for entry-level jobs, entry-level employees tend to get promoted into like supervisor positions or leadership, right? They don't tend to stay on the phones, right? Or at least they don't stay in that entry-level phone position, right? They get moved around. Well, in customer service, if you have a really talented, let's just say sales rep, and he wants to move within the company to get into a different role, they're probably going to take him and either put him on to like the online support, where like you want those more seasoned people because you got to be more careful about what you're typing because it can get screenshot, or they might put him over on the mobile side, right? Because the mobile side can be a little bit more complicated with systems that you have to work with because you're working with a partner systems at that point, right? And you could break stuff. 2, when it comes to wireless, as far as things that can actually go wrong, there's not as much that can really go wrong. Like, if you're having service issues right on your phone, it's pretty simple just to be like, yeah, you don't have service in that area, or reboot your phone. Like, a lot of the things that need to be resolved already have set processes in place, and for the more complicated issues, you're probably just plying them off to Apple, right? If you break your phone, Comcast isn't the one to fix your phone repairs, right? They're sending you over to Apple, or if you have the insurance, they're sending you over to Assurion. So it's not even them dealing with it anymore, right? All Comcast has to do for the mobile is just make sure not to screw you over on billing, and they're basically winning.
So Dennis, he's saying, how will this affect Verizon in particular? I just thought about the wholesale deal. That goes out the window, and Comcast becomes just a monster competitor, right? T-Mobile may not scare Verizon directly, but Comcast on T-Mobile assets would. You know what I mean? They've got a lot more money. What's the market cap at Comcast?
Oh, it's like double T-Mobile size. Let's see, Comcast.
So is it like 400 billion?
No.
300 billion?
It's went down. Oh my God, the stock has. I'm sad right now. The stock has plummeted. I haven't looked at it in a hot minute, dude. It went from like $60 down to $34.47. I'm sad.
So that means the market cap has reduced by half.
Yeah, it's like 152.12 billion.
So they
right
were
now.
at one point about 300 billion.
Yes.
Wow. Huh.
I'm so sad. Oh well, they still pay a dividend, so it's not going anywhere. But I'm real sad. But anyway,
they'll be back, Dennis. No worries.
Anyway, Crab Joe said he has a friend that works for Comcast who handles customer service for both cable and wireless. Crab Joe, I can tell you with confidence that while there might be some overlap, like a salesperson selling the mobile, they're not a dedicated mobile person. Like Comcast, the way they structure their business has people that are dedicated to like mobile support. Like that is like their whole function. And while they might know stuff about the other side of the business because there's some overlap there are different rules with access to different systems and different privileges to do things.
Dennis, can you put on the beanie, please, so we can do this last story?
I would if it didn't restrict the blood flow to my brain.
All right. T-Mobile participates in Central States Emergency Exercise. T-Mobile's emergency management team are participating in the 2022 Central States Communications Exercise in Quapaw, Oklahoma, starting today through September 16th. T-Mobile is providing a mobile emergency operations center, Jeep and satellite cell on light truck. It's called a SAT Cult, which will demonstrate how T-Mobile supports communities during disasters, enable local emergency response teams to become familiar with the equipment, and provide additional connectivity for attendees during the 4-day event. Exercise participants are working with local and state agencies to test cross-platform connectivity, access equipment functionality, and complete field exercises. They will also hear from industry expert guest speakers about practices for communicating during emergencies. Moose, Dennis, do you guys think this means that T-Mobile's getting serious about becoming a first responder type of network?
I think they've always been serious about wanting to, but do I think this will be enough? And the answer is no.
They're not reliable. They're not trustworthy. They've been hacked so many times. I'm waiting for the 2022 hack at this point. No joke. They've lost all credibility.
Forget the hack for a moment. The bigger problem here is the reliability aspect. That's the most important part. And they've improved a lot here in Pittsburgh in the sense that they've added backup power. So now if the power goes out, I can still keep a bar of service. But for the vast majority of their network, they're not doing backup power. They don't have, on a broader macro level, they don't have like redundant fiber routing for their traffic. If you actually do like a trace route for the data to the different servers from like coast to coast, you'll notice that T-Mobile only has like one main fiber line basically going across the coast to link the East Coast and the West Coast servers for them. So they're lacking redundancy in the most critical part of their infrastructure even. There's just so many things that are wrong with the network that for it to be a first responder network, it would have to literally start from the very basic foundation, and that takes time, money, and to some extent some owner economics to actually have control over those things, which T-Mobile lacks.
Some people are mentioning backup power on tower sites.
Yeah, I was touching on that.
Yeah, so
they don't have backup power on a lot of their sites. Like I said, in Pittsburgh, that's changed a little bit. They've added backup power, at least in the main parts of the city, which didn't exist, and it's a meaningful improvement considering how many times we have the power go out. But on the broader scope of things, I don't know. I'm just going to throw out a random number. I'm going to say maybe only 30% of their cell sites have backup power, maybe, and a lot of those are probably co-located ones.
Moose, who do you think, in terms of agencies, first responders, who do you think looks at T-Mobile and says, let's give them a chance? Is there any segments of the agencies or the government that's like, hey, maybe with the right push, with the right, structure, we actually could utilize them and leverage them? Because we've been hearing rumblings that they want to penetrate that marketplace, but that's not going to be easy to do when a lot of these accounts are with AT&T and Verizon.
Any volunteer, fire department, police department, damn, even Ski Patrol. It's coming out in the winter. If they are completely voluntary and they don't have any budget whatsoever, they'll go to T-Mobile because they give them the service for free still, right?
Yeah.
I mean, right. I'll just say one thing too. The one thing that's not talked about either, and this is going to be a big problem for T-Mobile to overcome as well, is the fact that they're a foreign-owned company. If you notice, like if we're talking about like the big government deals,
hold on a second, man. T-Mobile US is an American company. The majority shareholder is German.
So foreign-owned.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you notice, though, with a lot of state deals and stuff like that, and like federal deals from like the bigger agencies, the ones that really bring in the big buku bucks, they're going to be sticking to U.S.-owned companies. So Verizon.
Well, there was a time where Vodafone and Verizon were partners.
Not partners. Vodafone owned the majority share of Verizon before Verizon bought out Vodafone.
Sounds like a partner to me, Moose.
No. That's okay.
Really?
It's one thing for me to help the bakery. It's a whole nother thing for me to be owning 51% of the bakery. That's what I'm talking about.
So what do we call them? Joint owners? Co-owners?
Majority share owner versus 50-50, where there's nobody to overpower either side. Right?
And then they bought them out and they sent them on their way, and it's been Verizon ever since. And actually, they've never actually paid down all that debt. I don't know if you know that, Moose.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've had my own concerns about this. What's his name? Maladay, right? Maladay.
Kyle Maladay.
Yeah, Kyle. I don't know how much longer he's going to be there. He might be a scapegoat. I honestly feel like
there's nobody left if he's gone. I mean, Ronan Dunn is gone. Tammy is gone. Mm-hmm. Who's going to be left?
I'm telling you, Kyle might be the
shiny
scapegoat.
Shoes, man.
Kyle might be the scapegoat because he was the guy that was like, we're going to go all in on mmWave. We're going to go all in on the Spectrum auction. We're going to go all in on this. Yeah, you're going to go all in on that. But guess what? One of these quarters, you're going to post for the first time ever at quarter-over-quarter and year-over-year loss in revenue. And that's going to be the day. That will be the day where the days, if not hours, are numbered with Hans Vestberg.
Yeah, but that's not the CTO. They're profitable. Their revenue is still high. It's still industry best.
Yeah.
So they're not going to look at him and say, what's wrong with you? They're going to say, well, okay, Hans, you could stay because revenues are still high as hell.
One of these days, Sneed, I'm telling you, I just have...
That's what we have to see, Moose. We have to see the bottom line get shaken, right?
That's right.
We have to see like revenues dipping. But see, this is what I was afraid of, though, Moose, because in terms of new revenue streams, it was supposed to be fixed wireless access. You can't grow fixed wireless access if you can't keep your mobile customers.
Didn't you tell me a while back that you were like, they're going to diversify their revenue streams? They're going to have MEC, they're going to have private cellular, they're going to have 5G as a service, network as a service, and all this other BS, right?
Mm-hmm.
It didn't pan out yet. It hasn't panned out yet. Now,
not yet.
Of course,
yeah.
They're long-term.
Future looking, right.
Yeah. They're long-term. Mm-hmm. But you're right. The short-term was the fixed wireless.
Fixed wireless, dude, this is the opportunity. This is striking while the iron's hot.
Yeah.
The venom for cable is there. Every quarter they lose mobile subscribers, they're also losing fixed wireless access opportunities because those customers are staying with big cable, taking a wireless discount and a home internet discount. Or they're going with frickin' T-Mobile home internet instead. That's a kick in the nuts to Verizon's product, in my opinion. Yeah.
And by the way, Sneed, there's a gentleman here, Kevin L., talking about the DoD C-band situation with AT&T. I feel like we need to address it again for the second podcast.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Let's do that here. How does AT&T think it's okay? I don't know if it's about it being okay. I think it's very difficult, costly, and they're wiping their hands with it with the 13. It sucks, guys. when I had to report that,
Moose,
when I had to report that the 13s weren't going to get DoD,
yeah,
the first thing I thought about was, if you just bought this phone, the 13, return it.
Yeah.
They're still selling it.
But and that's the other thing I said at the last podcast. I'm like, they're going to be selling these things for the next year.
And Steve, let me add some more salt to the wound. They're also still selling the iPhone 12.
Oh yeah.
But the 12, you would say, okay, this phone is going to be going on its second year. Like, there's been a 13 and now a 14, right? The 13 just came out a year ago. DoD was auctioned just over a year ago. So, like, what? And they said that they were going to support it, right? And that phone is a year old, man.
Yeah. You know, there's always an opportunity in the future if, you know, whatever analysis they did of the cost benefit, or it might not even have been cost benefit. There might have been legitimate reasons why the X60 modem does not allow the 3.45. We don't know. It might have been a Qualcomm issue for all we know, right?
I think the issue just comes down to recertifying and Apple not willing to do so. It's probably an Apple thing.
But isn't it odd, though, Dennis, that if it's an Apple thing exclusively, what about if Samsung was able to do it? I'm telling you, it's a Qualcomm thing. There's no way, with they having the same modem, that if AT&T went to, Qualcomm in San Diego and they were like, yo, we need this thing done. And by the way, don't think that they just started talking to Qualcomm or whoever the OEM is regarding the 3.45. They've been probably thinking about this since the auction last year, if not longer. Because it's always a year cycle. Remember, Sneed, we knew about the X60 modem in 2020's summer.
Yeah, it was the summer when the pandemic started.
Right.
I mean, those conversations were had, yeah.
We already had the details. We already had the specs. We already knew how much better it would be compared to the X55. And they were even comparing it with the Apple modem. The proprietary Apple modem that integrated the A17 and the well, actually at the time it was the A14, right, prototype, but the A14, right, with the 5G modem, and it was 8% difference. There was a delta of 8% performance gap, right? And Apple's not satisfied with that. They want literally like for like. Right. Mm-hmm. So I'm telling you, I got a buddy of mine at Qualcomm. He's been testing, and I've been telling you this on the other shows. He's been testing C-band in all places by the ocean. I don't know why, but there's obviously something to be said when they go out in the middle of nowhere, the desert in San Diego, like far east, and then they go to the ocean, and then I have a very strong feeling that they're doing all these remote testings for a couple of reasons. Oh, and by the way, Stanky on the call today, actually not on the call, on the Yahoo Finance video that's on Twitter, he even said that Saturday they launched a test satellite with AT&T's proprietary antenna, right? The Space Mobile, right? Space Mobile launched a satellite this last Saturday, and they're now testing on their promise that they did back in 2020. Remember the pandemic time, right? May or June or July, or whatever. There was that press release. So satellite is getting really hot right now. I'm surprised that Verizon hasn't done anything yet, like announced, hey, we're doing something with our Amazon partners,
So a couple things to close off the show here as we kind of like hand this over to Ricky, RFK Tech USA. He's going to be doing his live stream, so go ahead and check him out, guys. If you're not subscribed, go over there and peep things out on his side with his podcast. Just a couple more things to wrap this up. The C-band DoD situation, that's only going to be trouble for you if you have the DoD upgrades in your market currently, and you have AT&T. If it's Verizon, it's not an issue. If it's T-Mobile, it's not really an issue. you're probably worrying about it for your next upgrade, right? Your next phone. And even if you do have AT&T and you have an iPhone 12 or 13, your phone's still going to be great. AT&T has great carrier aggregation combos, and they have tons of spectrum. Their LTE is phenomenal. Their 5G Plus is getting better every day. Even if it is just 40 megahertz now, when the rest of it clears, that goes to 80 megahertz, and in Dallas, it's 100 megahertz. So there's going to be a lot of capacity. So have no fear. They'll densify. They've got fiber to their sites. It'll be fine. It's not that big of a deal. One last thing. The last thing. I predicted in my video earlier today about Verizon and TracFone. I just want to say, like, when I made that prediction, I said that it's literally gotten to the point where Verizon is going to have to monetize their fixed wireless access through prepaid. I literally said they're going to have to sell a prepaid version of their 5G home. I don't know what the price point's going to be. They currently sell theirs for like $60 and $40. With AutoPay, it brings it down $10. I think that's where they're going to end up, around $40 or $50, taxes and fees included. Just be on the lookout for that, folks. I really think that's going to happen because it's not growing fast enough. And now with a lot of these C-band sites, they can put on some extra traffic, especially places that are getting backhaul, places that they're early clearing more spectrum with B and C block opening up here in short order. They're going to be fine. You know, they're probably going to do that. I think they will. And yeah, so just, I don't know if it's a prediction or put me on the record kind of deal. I think that is definitely coming. And the total wireless plans, I actually looked at the Verizon prepaid plans. They are exactly mirror images of what Verizon is doing with their prepaid branded. They literally took a TracFone brand, chopped it up and spit it out, and just gave it the regular prepaid plans. So it's like the most expensive plan gets ultra wideband, the most expensive plan gets Disney Plus, and nobody was asking for any of that. People on Total Wireless wanted the cheapest plan possible. What did Verizon do? Raise the price $5. So Verizon is literally, I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know if it's going to work, man. They are absolutely tripping. Kevin's asking a question just for buzzer beater here. Kevin, appreciate the super chat. He said, do you see Hans remaining at Verizon CO for another year? If revenues are still high and profitability continues to improve, they'll probably keep him because that's just what these companies do.
Sneed.
Yeah, and well, one more. How much further does 3.4 go versus the 3.7? It just depends on power. It looks like the 3.7 might travel further, actually. We'll see.
Side note, Sneed, I just wanted to address the comment that I highlighted from Zero Coal, which is he said the issue was the X60 modem couldn't carry at the lower and upper bands. The C-band channel spacing was too low. Is that confirmed?
Yeah, that's confirmed.
So that's the reason why AT&T wouldn't. That's the reason that AT&T.
It's more like couldn't. They couldn't support it. Dennis, take us home, buddy.
I want to thank everyone for coming out to watch another live. Make sure to smash the like button on your way out. Also, if you're feeling extra starved for content, tomorrow we'll be doing a live stream on my channel, Best Phone Plans at 7 o'clock. Recommend that you come. We're going to be having on a great guest, and you'll get to see another friendly face. We need to get back on here sometime called Stetson Doggett. But Moose, also want to thank you for always being here, man. You're always a ball of energy and joy with your honestly sometimes spicier takes than myself. And Sneed, as always, thank you for having me on the show.
You're welcome, man. Thanks for being here.
But with that being said, we're going to end it with the signatory. Peace.